The Light Between Oceans is about, I think, basically good, decent people. I think all the characters involved are good people with good intentions who make some decisions which are morally questionable, but understandable. And I think that's what the film examines. It examines maybe good people doing the wrong things for the right reasons. I read the script first, and then I read the novel afterwards, and I think it's one of the most faithful adaptations I've come across in my lifetime. I think it's very, very true to the book, and a lot of the dialogue is straight from the book. When I first read the script, I think, like everyone, I sobbed. I haven't met anyone who hasn't read the script and had a good sob. It's incredibly emotional. It just touches very raw nerves in, I think, anyone who reads it. I think what's really compelling about the story, what's unique about it, is the way that it describes small town life in rural Australia beginning in 1918, and it really captures, I think, with incredible immediacy, what life would have been like then. It doesn't feel at arm's length. I feel like you feel you're right there and then, which is an amazing thing for a period novel to do, I think. And I think I really like all the characters because they're all flawed. And that's what interests me in stories, is when characters are not perfect people. They're regular people like all of us, so they do things right and they do things wrong, and that makes me able to identify with them. I mean, in this instance, in this story, they're very extreme circumstances that happen, but I think they're very relatable characters. Loss is definitely a huge theme in the novel. From my character's point of view, Hannah's point of view, she has a husband and a newborn baby, and she loses both of them. So she loses a child and a spouse. So she, when we meet her in the film, is grieving for, I don't know, I can't imagine a greater loss than that, to lose your child and your husband. And also she doesn't get to bury them. They are literally lost at sea. So I think part of a grieving process is to have closure with a funeral and a burial, and she doesn't have that. So she's sort of in this state of limbo. So Hannah's going through huge loss. Isabel and Tom also go through their loss because they raise this child and then they lose the child. So they're going through their version of loss. I think Tom's character loses, in a way, his innocence in the First World War. I think he sees such terrible things that he loses his hope and his optimism in many ways. The main love story is obviously Tom and Isabel, and they have a huge romance. She kind of awakens his heart, which has gone a bit cold from being in the war, and she brings him back to life. And yeah, it's a beautiful love story. And for him, it would be enough for them to be the two of them, but for her, she wants it to be a three. She wants a child, and she can't have her own, and so she feels it's a miracle when she finds this baby that's actually my baby, my character's baby, but she doesn't know that. What Derek brings to the table is something very unique. He really wants to get to a feeling of complete truth and reality, which obviously probably all actors and directors want, but he has a pretty unique way of creating things. He doesn't shout action or cut, and there are no marks on the floor for you to hit, and there are no lights, in fact, so there's no lighting. So in some ways you could be feeling more like he's shooting a documentary, and the things that are happening are really happening. He tries to kind of create that feeling, but he really directs. Well, I think the whole story is challenging. It's almost kind of biblical in its essence. It's a big morality tale, and I think it will divide people. There will be people who will find one character's actions inexcusable and those who will find it completely understandable, and I think it will create debate in those that see it, and that's kind of what morality is about. Morality isn't about black and white and right and wrong. I mean, sometimes there are clear instances of that, but mostly there is a grey area in which there's humanity and empathy and understanding, and I think that's really important feeling to look at. My character Hannah is going through pretty challenging times. I mean, she has moments of joy when she's falling in love and getting married and having a child and falling in love with her child, and those are all beautiful moments. I think the most beautiful moment was working with this newborn baby that was supposed to be Grace as she was just born, and it was just so magical to sit there with a newborn baby and just fall in love with this little creature. After I lose my husband and my baby, I mean, everything's pretty challenging. She's having a pretty challenging time, so she doesn't have pretty much every scene was emotionally, psychologically uncomfortable, because she's going through something which, is one of probably the worst thing that could happen to a woman, is to lose her child.